Hola a todos, estoy aquí para comunicaros que
My name is Clara Towson, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
I am Francisca George, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Susan Leemans, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom. Yeah.
My name is Zainab Samas, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hey guys, my name is Sasha Vickery, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Hi, my name is Lloyd Harris, and I'm a friend of the show.
Perfect.
Hi, my name is Jasmine Paolini, and I'm a friend of the show.
Wow, Jasmine, you got it in one time.
Hi, my name is Jan Faria, and I'm a friend of the show.
Boom.
Yes.
Take one. Well done.
Ready? Play.
Hello guys, in one of the last ATP Weeklies of the season, this is going to be the Davis Cup review, and that's pretty much all we'll have. We won't have any previews to do, but I mean, obviously there's still plenty to talk about. The 8 teams. Sorry if I'm a little bit, the quality of my camera isn't quite as good as usual. I'm using the laptop camera because my old one has died on me, but I hope you're fine with that. Anyway, Mario, I mean, obviously, you are Italian. Italy won the Davis Cup. Let's talk about their run. I mean, did they kind of put themselves in danger by not playing Matteo first up, considering all that's happened from since then?
Yeah, in the end, not even that much, because then, I mean, probably the Sinner Berrettini thing could have not worked out against Australia, but the Argentinian pair, I think, there was a sort of difference on the court. I mean, the sets were quite, they went to 4-all, 5-all, but also, they were holding very, very easily. And we saw also the Argentinians being kind of in danger and at times. And so, I mean, at the end of the day, there hasn't really been big doubts, maybe probably the biggest moment could have been, after Kokkinakis wins that first set, with Berrettini having many chances. And then if Kokkinakis manages to win that match, then the Australian doubles could have been, a very dangerous one. But yeah, then in the end, Berrettini hasn't really, he just won his match, the second and third set. And then, of course, Sinner hasn't lost any sets this week. And so, yeah, Berrettini also had an incredible Davis Cup season because he also played, as number 2 in the group stage. So, I mean, it hasn't been probably that strong, I also would say, emotionally as a triumph, like, last year when there was a win against Djokovic, or even the Billie Jean King Cup, where, the final was dominated, but the quarters, especially the semifinal against Poland. So there hasn't really been a moment like, big moment in this week to make this triumph as memorable as probably last year's. But yeah, I mean, fact is that, it's for sure a great period. And yeah, I mean, if Berrettini plays like that, and then it becomes, big trouble for everybody, because if you have both Sinner, of course, playing as the number 1, and Matteo doing his job very well as the number 2, especially today, played very, very well. So yeah, I mean, at the end of the day, the double was not even needed in semifinal and final, and there hasn't been big trouble.
Yeah, we will talk about the potential format changes, Flying Yogi, about what we can do with the doubles and whether there is actually something possibly to be done. When it comes to the Italian team, I think that what I kind of more meant with not playing Matteo first up is that Musetti went out, against Argentina as the number 2, which I did think was dubious. I mean, maybe there was something we didn't know about Mateo's fitness or something like that. That was kind of my initial assumption, but clearly not, considering how the rest of the week played out. I mean, he was fit as a fiddle, as fit as a Berrettini can be, you can say. And overall, like the whole season, Yannick wasn't in the group stages, right? So in the group stage, it was kind of Matteo who was the biggest asset for Italy. So as a whole, he goes 5-0 in singles play, and of course also wins that crucial doubles rubber with Yannick. So I think he's just as big a hero of this Davis Cup as Sinner. Of course, not taking anything from Yannick, who, I mean, it's just a cheat code at this stage. And you just basically think, okay, so yeah, Italy starts 1-0. It doesn't matter that the match between the number ones is second up. Italy just starts every match with a handicap. And that's kind of how it went. I mean, we even had Argentina going for that kind of like great tactic, right? Where they put Baez just cannon fodder for Sinner. The other countries didn't really have any. Well, okay, Australia actually could have done that. I don't know what your opinion on that would be if Alex de Minaur doesn't even go out, if it's Alexei Popinin. But considering Matteo beat Kokinakis, that was always going to be a bit tricky, of course, even getting to the doubles. And obviously Yannick was like, we knew he was going to get the free wins, and he just did it as efficiently as possible, really, just not wasting any time and making sure that this is all just clean done. And when it comes to the sort of like Bolelli Vavasori thing, I think we maybe will return to this at the kind of, I don't know, like at a later point, also kind of combined with the USA doubles maybe later on. Let's talk about the finalists then. And of course, the finalists being Netherlands. I think definitely a very like feel-good vibe team. The bench was so energetic. We had the Wesley Koolhof retirement as well. I hear that apparently they're saying on Dutch media that he might play Davis Cup again next year, just like one match in February. I don't know. Anyway, let's treat it as his retirement for now. It's much better, of course, than exiting on that ATP Finals racket smash, but he only had to play once. Otherwise, Botic and Talon, I think, definitely delivered their best performances in Davis Cup so far.
Yeah, I mean, it was a good story, actually, because, I mean, the team, even if, they don't have kind of, let's say, top 10 player or top 15 player inside it, but, they are, they seem pretty close, all focused on the goal, trying to do the best they can. Of course, I mean, Van de Zandschulp, not today, but usually, at least this season has been like that, because playing as the second, he got a bit more wins. But, even Griekspoor achieving that important win against Germany, because then the doubles could have been really tricky against the German pair who, ended the season on fire. So, all of them, and also the doubles, of course, Koolhof played really, really well against Spain, which has been incredibly important because, of course, it could have been more different. So, I mean, I would say that it's kind of deserved for them also because they have always played all together the Davis Cup, and they actually always been a part of this, these finals in the past years, because they've been quarterfinalists also in 22 and 23, losing to Australia and Italy again. I mean, I would say that it's not like out of nowhere that they have reached the final, not because they were favorite to do it, but because, I mean, in the end, it's the third straight year that they've been inside the top 8 teams playing, at the end of the year. So it's a good run, and of course, unfortunately, this final hasn't really delivered because, of course, Berrettini and Sinner proved to be too strong. And but it's of course very important and also historical because the Netherlands had never been in a Davis Cup final before this year. So I think it's still an incredible run despite the loss in the final.
Yeah, of course, Netherlands didn't really have that much like space to potentially maneuver anything with the nominations. I mean, they have 2 singles players that are very clearly better than the others. They had some like even Jesper de Jong, even though he wasn't nominated, right, showed up. So they had a lot of support from like even competitors that weren't necessarily on the team, which also shows you how much of a good connection they have. And I think that was also very important. Needless to say, their win over Spain was the one that kind of will steal everybody's attention. Was Rafa ready to play singles? By what we saw, probably not, but Botic still delivered a fine performance. And of course, later on, winning that crazy clash with Altmaier, that was big too. Talon, I think he actually goes out with a 1-2 record, right? But he lost to Sinner and Alcaraz. So I think just saying 1-2 with him is, a little harsh. He played better than a 1-2 player. Let's just say that.
Yeah.
And let's maybe move on to some other stories here. So Australia, of course, they went out to Italy in the semis after defeating the United States. And they actually played, they did something interesting in putting Kokinakis at number 2. That was Hewitt's, I guess, choice over Popperin and Thompson, which wasn't obvious.
Yeah, no, it wasn't obvious. I don't know. I mean, Kokinakis, he actually, seems like this kind of Davis Cup player, being, someone who can bring out the energy and feel good also playing under this country representation pressure, let's say, that maybe other players suffer a lot, not saying it's the case for, of course, the Australian team. Then also maybe Thompson hasn't played because probably also for the team dynamics with Thompson playing in the eventual doubles. I don't know. And then I'm pretty sure there's also other things that of course we don't necessarily know about the teams, maybe how they have been looking like in the training sessions, in which form they came, maybe some of them mentally tired after the season, or maybe physically not as ready as others. So it's a very good team, the Australian one, because there are, of course, all these players who can get that spot to play the singles. And so I think it worked out pretty well to choose, of course, Kokinakis, because he won a very important match against Shelton and against Berrettini. He played a good match in the end, so I don't think he has to feel many regrets about his performance. And so let's see what he's able to do also next year, because he's a player who is in I don't know, it's a curious position he's won. He seems ranking wise always pretty much there, but he's a player who can do very well in these occasions. Also, if he's able to stay okay physically, let's see. It can be an important week for him.
Yeah, I think Tanasi got, and as Yogi already tells you, Elena, yes, Tanasi won a challenger in Sydney. Not the strongest draw, but still crushed Fijikata in the final, beat Sekuric, Skulkite. But yeah, I think Tanasi definitely got a lot of credit from Rusty here, and he didn't disappoint. That's not at all. From a player like Popperin, for example, I would feel a bit left out, because you're 25 in the world, you won an ATP 1000, and yet you didn't even play once. I would seriously consider, if I was the Australian team, because of the Sinner de Minor record, trying Popperin. I think he would have had a stronger shot against Yannick, but I know that's a big call. I'm not going to blame the captain for not making that, because I can imagine, the outrage of people like, I don't know, top 10, not putting a top 10 player in there, right? Like that's a huge call. So I can understand that, definitely. And yes, that was certainly a couple of very good performances from him, even though he lost in the semis. Not his fault that Team Australia went on to lose, definitely not. We also had Germany in the semis, which was slightly surprising because Struve just kind of like out of it recently with the hip injury, comes back, but is still, just like picking up one win an event. And the number 2 spot seemed pretty poor, because neither Hanfmann or Altmaier can play indoor hard, really. Altmaier gets chosen, and Altmaier actually does a very good job. He extends that much against Botic van de Zandschulp, and also pulls off the upset against Gabriel Diallo, which was pretty much why Germany made its way to the semifinals.
Yeah, he did his job pretty well, handled the occasion quite well. And in the semifinal, for example, against Van de Zandschulp, probably doesn't have many regrets. He tried as best as he could to stay in the match. He also managed to do this. Yeah, probably. In the end, Van de Zandschulp was, looking the one who could, in the if they both are mentally okay and not crushing under the pressure, he had an edge from the tactical point of view, doing things just a little bit better. But Atmayer stayed in the match and played really well, also beating Diallo, who was a player quite high in confidence also in this part of the year. Not the best performance ever for the Canadian, but Admire did the job really, really well. And yeah, Germany was actually a good team. I like when in this Davis Cup we see this team without, let's say, any big protagonist, meaning like a top 10 player, having a run, doing well, makes things a bit more fun from my perspective. And Struff, you mentioned as well. With the court being like this one, Struff probably doesn't even need to be at 110% of his form to be still dangerous, with also his serve, meaning that he played really fine. Actually, I watched the match against the Netherlands and he was fine. At the end, Grigsburg had it a bit more, but nothing, I think, also from their point of view to regret. They did, for me, as good as they could. Maybe if they managed to bring the tie against the Netherlands to the doubles, then maybe they have a slight edge. Tough to call, but it's like that. In Davis Cup, the margins are always very, very, fine. And I always find myself saying like, but what if this could have happened? Then maybe, so it's worthless. They did fine, I think.
And yeah, that is true, John. The Kokinakis ended up being eaten alive by Yannick Hanfmann in the opening round at that Australian Open, and Hanfmann played Rafa in the second round. I think with Germany, you mentioned the doubles, and I think Krawiec puts the fact that the ATP Finals champions didn't get to play. That's a bit of a shame for them. And maybe this is actually the right moment to raise one of these like more big picture questions that we have and kind of make a small interlude. And this would be the format thing. So like some people like Christopher Clary on Twitter I saw, for example, he suggested that like there should be one singles match, then one doubles, and then the other singles match, for example, in order to make doubles more, apparent and I don't know, for it to happen in most matches. What's your take on that? Like, do you think that format can be tweaked in any way?
I don't feel all this love for doubles, honestly. It depends. Probably it would have been fun to have it that way, and probably would have, be a little bit more unpredictable. But in my opinion, it wouldn't really then, make the strongest team win. You can still enjoy. I would enjoy it. I'm not talking about that. But for me, I prefer this way. The doubles is, in a weird spot. This week, for example, both in semifinals and final, it hasn't been played. But when it gets played, then it is, the thing that decides it all. And, I'm quite fine with that, honestly. I get why some people, of course, would like to have it this way. So, I'm not really, criticizing, this take. I think it's fine. It all depends on what you prefer watching. If I have to see a tie ending 2-0, I would personally prefer watching two singles matches. But I can understand, why people are saying the opposite.
I'm going to criticize this take, actually, because I think anyone who thinks that this could actually happen is dreaming. Yes, the tennis organizations will just casually basically throw out one singles match out of the window, and they will expect the same number of people to buy tickets for the same amount of money. No, it just would never happen. It's the reality of things. And I think it just shows what was the best format, the best of 5 format, because then you always had doubles guaranteed. Sometimes it was decisive, sometimes it wasn't, but it was always relevant. Whereas this time, yes, obviously, as some people in the chat have mentioned, it's great when doubles happens. It feels really, it's so important, clutch and everything.
Yeah.
But it's not guaranteed, and sometimes it really takes away from it as well. Semis, finals, we don't get it. Krawiec puts, ATP Finals winners, they don't even get the chance to play. It's an entirely different thing whether these double specialists are even respected by the captains. We're going to get to that maybe when we're talking about Team USA. But still, like this, what Christopher Clarey is offering, I think when he like sits down and thinks about this, I think he's pretty much probably aware. He just wants some engagement because I think he's aware of the fact that this has real issues in this. And I mean, no, it just wouldn't happen. However, I do kind of regret that doubles is happening this, not that often in this format. That's why I enjoyed the best of 5 and not the best of 5 that the Fed Cup used to have, because that was another travesty.
I think
like
they still have it this way when it's the home and away ties. Because
let's see the home and away ties. That's right,
because it's. I remember, I watched the past weekend the Brazil against Argentina, and it was 2-2, and they played the doubles to decide it all. So if they end, 3-0 or 3-1, the doubles is irrelevant.
Yeah, in the Fed Cup, apparently to this day, but of course now we mostly watch like the Billie Jean King Cup clashes and everything in the finals. But in the Fed Cup, it's basically different, where you have 4 singles matches, and then only then. I mean, actually, they would play the doubles just as an exhibition, but of course it was like weaker lineups if the match was, if the match was already done. So I guess it was always played, but it just wasn't, the same anyway. So it was also an impaired format, basically, is what I'm trying to say. Same logic I'm making against doubles applies to women's events. Would I ever be so bold to challenge the representation matters cohort still manufacturing a fan base for WTA? I mean, it's one of the strengths of tennis that women's sports is pretty much at the same level as men's sport. I don't know, like if we have events like the Australian Open, should it be enough? Should it be the same number of matches at women's and men's on the same court? I think so. But for example, with the night sessions at the French, I've always been an advocate for putting a best of 5 match there, so a men's match. So I don't know. I guess moderate, maybe. With the night matches at the French, I've always taken that stance. So, well, that's kind of what I'm saying. And anyway, what else was there? Yes, Elena, I mean, this is very much possible with home and away ties, and it's still happening with home and away ties.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they're best of 5. They're not best of 5 sets anymore, but they are best of 5 rubbers. So, yeah, I mean, this is still happening.
Yeah, the third rubber is the doubles. So, yeah.
And that's my preferred format, like 100%.
Yeah, I like it.
That's my 100%.
In best of 5, I agree with the doubles, of course, being guaranteed because, of course, you already have 2 singles matches guaranteed. So it's very fine. And, in
the past, it even used to get its own day because it used to be best of 5, right? And I think people still showed up. Like I've only been to 1 best of 5 sets Davis Cup match, I think, but people showed up on that Saturday. So
yeah, the things. I don't know if it's more of a thing of the stadiums and the organization of the event or the televisions. So, I would be pretty interesting to see whether the television numbers, I mean, I'm pretty sure that if, the team was 2-0 and could have closed it out with the doubles, the audience would have been very, very high anyway. But I don't know if it's like 1-1. I don't know. It's a bit too too early in time probably to go check back.
Yeah. Okay, let's maybe move on to the quarterfinals then, and let's talk about the United States, which I think is the biggest topic here.
Yeah.
We had Ben Shelton ahead of Tommy Paul. I think that's already slightly controversial, but okay, they're more or less. Or actually, and there's also a debate on the best Christmas film for some reason on our screens. Home Alone is probably my favorite, although It's a Wonderful Life. I mean, in Poland, it just doesn't have the same status as in the States. But I can understand someone voting It's a Wonderful Life. But I mean, Elf having more votes than It's a Wonderful Life, just stop it, guys. But yeah, in Poland, Home Alone is by far the most iconic. When it wasn't shown on Polsat one year, there was literally like people protested, And Die Hard also goes to yes. Die Hard is the best Christmas film if we classify it. Absolutely. But I know that some people just say that, okay, it's just set at Christmas. It's not a proper Christmas movie. But if we do classify it as a Christmas movie, I do like Die Hard. I do like that answer. Lion King has nothing to do with Christmas, in my opinion. Anyway, yes, the US. So Shelton, Paul, okay, let's just say that they are pretty much the same level. Ben loses to Kokinakis, which I think is exactly why you don't want to play Ben Shelton, because he just gets into these like lottery matches with other big servers, but whatever.
Yeah.
And then the doubles comes, and this is where the controversy arises. You've got, well, okay, Krajcik aren't as good as Borelli Vavasori. Definitely not. So maybe there's some merit to, skipping at least one of them. But they play Paul Shelton together, and that's done by Bob Bryan, 16-time Grand Slam men's doubles champion, who came onto the scene, who got this job after Marty Fish didn't even take Rajiv Ram to 2022 Davis Cup
When
final.
he was, number 2 in the world, number 1 in the world or something.
Yeah,
Whatever.
He was much better than he's right now, yeah.
I mean, talking from somebody who was hoping to see Berrettini Sinner in the doubles, because for me, it's all a matter of matchups or the particular moment. For me, the Italian decision, given that Bolelli and Vavasori are high in the ranking right now and everything, makes sense because, against the, first of all, you have a player who is definitely on fire right now, kind of, even if maybe not as good in doubles, meaning in position and everything, he's still, not losing any sets and crushing everybody and everything. And also, their power, the way they were just throwing everything at the body of their doubles, opponents, was kind of a successful tactic, even if, doubles, let's say, lovers maybe didn't love what happened in that match. For the United States, I, of course, disagreed with it, even because, at least in Italy, we haven't been surprised to see Sinner and Berrettini playing together, because it was, since, 2-3 days that we kind of knew that in the doubles, this would have been the partnership. And they also, were practicing.
Maybe you knew, Mario, like from Italian media, but like, the things I was reading, like I didn't really see that at all.
I mean, it wasn't, one thing we were sure of is that Sinner would have not played with either Bolelli or Vavasori, because, that was not what the practice sessions were telling us. Then, I mean, maybe it could have happened anyway. But, what I want to say is that, the American decision, first of all, it hasn't made sense at all, considering, what the partnership, even let's say Fritz and Paul, he could have said that they won, bronze medal. At least he could have had something, to show for that decision. But this one, and also thought, kind of put there, without any sort of, preparation. I don't know, how it came. It was really difficult to explain. When I saw, it happened to me that a friend of mine sent me a message and said, "Oh, Paul plays in the doubles." And I was like, okay, so there is, Tommy and Taylor playing in the doubles. Then I, open the phone, they go to the score app, and I see Paul and Shelton. And I also was like, does it really make sense, Then I don't know. But for me, of course, if he would have won, maybe this wouldn't have been, as big of a deal. But still, it's tough to get into his mind, honestly.
Yeah.
Especially also what he said in the press conference, could have said it better, probably.
Well, I mean, he said that it was like a spontaneous decision or something like that. And based on the matchup, like, I don't know. I don't get it at all. I understand that Austin and Raj, like, even though they had the silver medal at the Olympics, it was a pretty easy run. Plus, neither in good form. Yes, but to me, like, you should probably then go for like an experience / form thing, where you put this one great singles player and one of the kind of like, mentor doubles guys. Probably Raj in that case, I would say. But I don't know. I don't buy it at all. I think it's really hurtful for the doubles game as well that someone like this, Bob Bryan does it. I know that this shouldn't be something he's thinking about. I just don't like the consequences that it has, because it once again raises a lot of questions. Same thing with Berrettini Sinner, really. To me, I would still say they were kind of asking for it when they put out a pair like this. I would still prefer Sinner to play with one of them, which is a decision I would not argue against. Like, definitely not. Like, I personally, if I was the Italian captain, I would have played Borelli Vavasori. But if someone says Sinner with somebody, fine. I've got nothing to say about that. Sure. That was controversial to me, but of course, even especially more the United States. I mean,
Yeah, but
to play Shelton
it's
and
not
Paul
different from what the Italians did, last year. I know that Bolelli was not, of course, in the.
It was a little different. Like, there was no Bolelli Vavasori pairing, right? There was no pairing that made 2 Grand Slam finals this year, made the ATP finals.
If I am Volandri, I'm sticking with that decision, honestly.
Well, obviously, the problem with all of these divagations sometimes is that we don't know what would have happened otherwise, right? Like, we don't know if Borelli Vavasori win the match. We don't know if Krajicek Ram win the match. We don't know if Paul Ram win the match, for example. So obviously, sometimes we can only theorize here.
And I don't know if it can, be also in the captain's mind. But for example, Bolelli Vavasori, I don't know, lost against Gonzalez Molteni in Shanghai 4-4. I don't know if this matters, but I'm not really against this. Against the choice, considering. I don't know.
Why did Poland play
I
Linette?
wasn't sure, Bolelli and Vavasori would have been better than Sinner and
Or why did Slovakia go again with Hrunčáková? I mean, she was the only number 2 to win a match, So
okay,
I think Hrunčáková I mean, clearly Schmidlova was not available, because otherwise she would have played, I think, all 4 matches as number 2.
Yeah.
They actually went with Jamrichova first, who didn't win a match, and of course she's still super young. Hrunčáková goes out, she wins one of them, and they have to keep going with her.
It's fine to me.
And I think Linette against Frank as well. Like, Linette won her match, Frank lost her match. You play her again. I think these decisions were perfectly fine. But yeah, I mean,
it's like the debate we had in Italy, because in Italy we had this debate before the semifinal with people saying, I would still stick to Lorenzo. And, most of us were like, why? Berrettini went there in doubles, played very well. He's fine physically. Why, shouldn't Berrettini play at this point? This doesn't mean that Musetti will never be chosen again in Davis Cup. Simply this week, there is the goal, win the title. Berrettini is playing good. He's in form. The week goes on with Matteo playing in singles.
Yeah, and also Ghosty, this doesn't matter really for Shelton. The thing that mostly matters is that he's a trash returner. And like the match showed it, 90% first serve points won for Thompson Ebden. And that's all I'm going to say. Like, you can't play Ben in doubles right now, I think. Well, maybe you can, but next to someone who can actually play doubles. And
everything was a bit
that
weird.
Part, I agree with you, yes.
Everything was a bit weird, because even Hewitt, in a press conference talking about the first singles, said that, they were pretty sure it was, Tommy Paul to play, because, watching the practice sessions, Tommy Paul arrived earlier to practice, to warm up and everything, and they wasn't expecting Shelton to play. So I don't know, everything about the choices. I mean, of course, Shelton is a fine choice for the singles, so it's not probably, Paul would have been a bit better in a matter of, match up against somebody like Kokinakis. But yeah, I mean, it's of course easier to talk right now. I mean, this is not a shocking decision.
Yeah. If you lose, there's always second guessing. I mean, maybe, but I think in these cases, both cases that you mentioned, Kirit, I think people are just like nitpicking. I think both of them are fine. So we're just kind of noting more, let's say, even more controversial things rather than these. I don't think that the ones that you mentioned, although I understand now what you were going for, I think the ones that you mentioned, at least by me or Mario, they wouldn't have been raised anyway. All right, let's talk about Argentina maybe, because they went for that kind of like masterful move of like, playing the format well. And I mean, it worked because Fran defeated Musetti, and that's kind of all they had in that tie eventually, of course, with the doubles. But still, I think good attempt from them.
I mean, did what they did, and it was fine, of course. It was the right decision because, Cerundolo is somebody who can, also outpower Lorenzo, something like that. Probably Echeverri would have suffered more, Lorenzo's change of rhythm and everything, even if, Lorenzo didn't play well in the end, so probably, Thomas could have had a chance anyway. But it was fine. Cerundolo is, of course, at least, this year, last year, this is what, we saw. Cerundolo is kind of the most dangerous player that they have in the single match. When you have a match against a good ranked opponent, he's usually the one who tends to cause most troubles and also win few of these matches. So it was a good decision. He played really, really well, even if, of course, there was also Lorenzo's bad performance. The two things kind of happened at the same time. And yeah, there has, Davis Cup is always some controversy, because me being a lot into, of course, the Argentina media environment and reading a lot of comments, they were also talking about Coria potentially changing by himself the doubles nomination when he saw that Italy was going with Berrettini and Sinner. But in the end, I think that it's right what he did. He had that squad. Those were, the dynamics in the team. Gonzalez Molteni, played all year together, last year as well. This year, maybe not as well as they did last year. But let's not also forget that he has, taken strong decisions until, last year, when Coria, decided to take them and to, let's say, put aside a little bit Ceballos. So it's also right for him, in my opinion, to defend his choice until the end, make them play, even because, this is really, second guessing, because, what would have happened otherwise. I think they did what they had to.
Yeah, I think I might not like exactly how the whole Ceballos thing has been handled over the years, but for this one, Coria definitely did everything to maximize the chances of Argentina. Fran Cerundolo did his job. After that, they had 2 free hits to kind of just be able to potentially make the sensational upset. They didn't manage to do it, but the decision making there was spot on, I think. And I don't know if even if Ceballos is on the team, then one of Gonzalez Molteni isn't, right? So they would kind of have to work with, just instead of the pair that's been playing with each other regularly for the past 2 years or so, they just put in Ceballos then with one of them.
No, I'm talking about that because it's been something, he has really gone for over the past 2 years, and even at the Olympics,
At the Olympics, I know.
He chose,
and they lost in the
all
opening
them
round.
and include Ceballos, despite him having the top 10, status to.
So instead of Ceballos with one of them, basically they keep going for the regular pair. Is it a good decision? I don't really know. I'm not a big fan of how the Olympics situation was handled. Horacio being the number 1 in the world and not getting to play it, it's a little rough. Maybe it's what doesn't. Maybe what frustrates me there is not the decision of Coria, but actually kind of the format in general.
Yes, exactly.
Ceballos is in this position, but anyway. I guess that's not most interesting, most important thing right now. What is important is that they really maximize their chances. They didn't manage to do it, but still the only country to take a tie off Italy. Also, we had Canada. Not much to say there, I guess. Shapovalov making 13 double faults. That was kind of the end of it, and also Diallo. I don't know if how fit Raonic was. I know that this was also a choice that people were looking at and kind of thinking maybe it should have been Milos. But to me, Milos not playing since the Olympics and Diallo being in good form and good rhythm recently, I think that was okay. Just kind of, Dennis being Dennis, I guess, against Struff.
Yeah, the thing is always the same, that when the result is not favorable, of course, we keep, staying there with our minds and say what could have been made in a different way. But at times, it just wasn't meant to be. I don't think, that the nominations and, the calls for the singles matches were wrong at all. 2 players who were in good form, in, playing well over the past months. They, just got called and they played their matches and lost. And that's it, At times we stay there a little bit too much, thinking about all these dynamics. So not much to say. Of course, Shapovalov had his chances against Struff, and then the doubles, we'll see what could have happened. but it's okay. It happens. I mean,
Yeah, of course, Lance Davis,
ah,
right?
okay. No, I didn't remember.
Lance
I
Davis,
already forgot it.
but I don't remember the name of the company. B.
No, I'm talking about the guy on the left. Do you know who it is?
Yeah, Cedric Muria is in the background. That I can tell you. Anyway, what else? Yeah, of course, also Spain, and that was a big story of the Rafa retirement. We covered it quite a few times already on the show now, and still probably deserves a mention here. There was obviously that thing as well with the ceremony where they weren't expecting them to lose that early. I think before the tie, I said that, like, to me, the optimal way of trying to win it is putting Bautista Agut, but I understand that they played Rafa because, again, the format is so weird and you're not guaranteed the doubles match. So, well, the way it went, of course, Carlos defeated Talon, which was relatively close. And then we have that doubles match between Alcaraz, Granollers, Koolhof, Van de Zandschulp. And, well, Koolhof was just significantly better than Granollers, I would say, in the battle of these two doubles specialists, at least on the day. So a premature exit for Spain, but given their number 2 situation was like a little iffy, I suppose they were clearly expecting to go deeper, but it's also not a big shock they didn't.
No, indeed. When I think they did right to put Rafa, but at the same time, why are you expecting to go deeper? You know, I mean, they could winning the doubles, which was not impossible, of course, but at the same time, you can lose because I don't think, you know, as much as he could have trained okay in the past days, as Ferrer says, I don't think that a Nadal loss would have been, you know, some sort of shocking thing. So, and if you lose one of the rubbers, then you have one foot out of the competition. So I don't get really why they were really expecting to go deeper, especially if they, you know, needed to give the spot to Rafa. And I would say rightfully, you know, I don't think they did wrong because, you know, I liked a sentence Alcaraz wrote it in the post after, you know, that tie was, there will be many more Davis Cups, but there will only be one Rafa retirement. I think something similar. So I agree with the decision of making him play. At the same time, I just a little bit about the ceremony and everything. At least from what we have heard about some, you know, that they thought the ceremony could have happened on Friday. I mean, fine, but you should expect, you know, the team also to lose earlier, because especially if the situation is the one that we saw, that rightfully you have to reserve Nadal a spot for the singles.
Yeah, I mean, I can't disagree with that. You know, it was just a case of priorities. Like the optimal way of trying to win the Davis Cup, which doesn't necessarily have to happen. I mean, they would still have to play Italy, right? But the optimal way of trying to win the Davis Cup would be to play RBA. The way of, like, you know, honoring Rafa would be to play him. Even Rafa himself said that, like, after this match, he probably doesn't want to play singles. So that's likely what would have happened. But yeah, I mean, I can't really say anything about that. Definitely, that's simply what they chose, and I can't disagree with that choice at all. Davis Cup has a bit of a, I mean, well, it's tough to say how important it actually is in tennis. I think in the Conor Nyland book that I just recently finished, he kind of said that, like, the top guys tend to treat it as just something they want to, like, cross off their list, which is very true. Like, I don't know, Federer wins it in 2014, and after that, you know, he just very rarely plays, or if he ever played after that, I honestly don't remember. When it comes to, like, Murray, same, right? 2015, and then obviously he doesn't, like, appear every single time from that point onwards. You just kind of just want to have it on the list. But after that, I don't think you're going to necessarily prioritize it. I think Federer played once after he won the Davis Cup in 13. I think in 14. I think he played against the Netherlands at some point, against Timo de Bakker. But anyway,
I mean,
not important.
To be honest, we don't really like maybe the new format, but it was even tougher with the old format for the top players to commit.
Yeah, I mean, 4 times a year, right?
Yes, exactly. A best of 5 matches. Maybe you have to also play 2 of them in the weekend.
Most of the time, yeah. If you're
So
the number one, you very often
no,
have to play
imagine
2
somebody
matches.
like Sinner, Italy has Sinner. Sinner has just won the US Open, so he doesn't go to the group stage.
Yeah.
Team, the team is good anyway, so they make the final 8. He just, appears here, play 3 singles matches, best of 3, and wins the competition for the team. Instead, of course, together with the teammates. But talking about the top ranked players, it was difficult. I think even Djokovic, as much as he tried to play, he committed to it a bit even more after the change of format, actually.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's way easier for Yannick to show up for this event at the end of the year than to keep playing 4 times in a season, and otherwise he would only be in the final if Italy went that far. Which in the previous format, of course, wouldn't have been guaranteed really, but now he's here from the final 8 stage and he's such a massive asset. So yeah, I don't disagree that it was also an imperfect format, but we actually are going to get a bit of a mix of that, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the group stages are now going to be home and away ties. So
yeah, that was a little bit dumb in my opinion, because you have 16 teams, 8 of them goes on in the competition. You can just have a round of 16 thing like I think we will have next year. Then I don't know, but
it led to some issues with the neutral location for sure. But it will be a bit easier for them to commit to, as like, I don't know, let's say Jack Draper this year, right? Goes deep at the US Open. And he had to be there in like what, Tuesday, Wednesday. And now he's not gonna have to play until Friday, maybe even Saturday, depending on how they're scheduled. So yeah, I think that the new format will be a slightly better tweak of this current one, and more closer to the previous one, which people generally seem to prefer, but which was also like had its own issues, let's just say.
Yeah, what
And
I don't
one-
like, what I don't like
Yeah, go
is, then people say, Davis Cup is dying because of the new format. I mean, you may not like the new format, but if we had a change of format in first place, it was maybe because the old one needed something, to be fixed. And maybe, they haven't fixed it well. Then I don't know. I mean, I have never been a fan actually of team competitions, but for me, it's tough. If I am a player, I don't think I'm coming in April to play best of 5 matches. Then I don't know. If I am, a number 1 player, let's not forget that top ranked players, they are not only asked to play for their countries in these occasions, but at the end of the day, I'm talking, for what I see in Italy and how they, we all treat Yannick Sinner in Italy. We want him to win the slams. We want him, I don't know, maybe him to win in Rome. It's not just about bring the Davis Cup home,
Yeah, that's fair as well. And I think the last topic we should probably talk about is the potential location change. That is something that's been brought up now because, well, Spain has hosted it the last, how many is it now? 5 editions? I think, yeah, all 5 editions since the format change have been hosted by Spain, the finals at the very least. So, yeah, basically, would you like to see a different location? And also, if, then where?
I mean, I would like it, but at the same time, you can be a bit scared of changing, because at the end, this location kind of works. The atmosphere is good. So I don't know, you may have a little bit of fear, then bringing it to somewhere else, may not lead to the same, let's say, success in terms of the fans being present there, in the stadium, like we have seen in some of the ties during the group stages, which was probably the biggest, let's say, flop stadium wise. So then I don't know, because we're talking about China, and I mean, I'm not at all against tennis in China, of course, but I'm a bit scared that taking it to probably a little bit less passionate country, maybe also because without, right now at least, a team which is always present at the finals and everything, then they may be there maybe, and everything would change. But I don't know, it's a bit weird. I mean, we also have to look at location. also not location but logistic. Let's say if you want the top players to play, for example, the guys who make it to the ATP finals, I don't think hosting it, at the other end of the world, it's probably a very, very good idea to make them play. For example, when, let's think of the Billie Jean King Cup, Swiatek withdrew after, I think, Cancun, because she had to be in Spain. I mean, this year she has flown from
Riyadh,
Saudi Arabia.
Yeah.
Saudi Arabia, sorry. But yeah, I mean, it's a bit tough, because you have to take into consideration a lot of things. Europe, of course, would work, but at the same time, I get why people say, why always in Europe? And it's also a fair question. It's a bit tough.
Yeah, I think realistically it should stay in Europe. It might be like, I don't know, call me racist or whatever, but there are some issues. Like, yeah, ATP finals, the players coming from there, it's easier if it stays close to Turin. Plus, it just simply gives the best shot at most countries having a representation of fans. Like, I don't know if South America would be cool. Like, you only have Argentina there usually, maybe sometimes at least. Like, Argentina wasn't even favored to get through the group stage this year. And let's imagine there's no okay, the host country would be in there, I guess, if it was in South America. But otherwise, all the other matches, like, they become pretty much neutral. I'm not sure in South America there would be enough of a representation of what was, for example, this year, like Germany and Netherlands. I don't know. I mean, okay, there are a lot of Germans in Brazil, I guess. But the Netherlands, like, would they really have enough fans in South America to fill out the stadiums? They might have enough people from the Netherlands, but like not enough tennis fans. And in Europe, you just pretty much are guaranteed that most of the countries are going to get their own fans. So to me, it should stay in Europe. Should it stay in Spain? I think, kind of like Kirit says it's unfair to the other countries that it's in Spain all the time.
I mean, I've always kind of thought like it would be cool to have something like, the country who wins the competition wins the right to organize the final.
That's a good one.
The thing is that, as for what I understood, they work on, deals for hosting, because I remember even our, the president of Italian Tennis Federation feel like maybe we may think about signing a deal. It won't happen, I think, because they will have the ATP finals. It was thinking like, if we lose the ATP finals, we may want to sign a deal trying to take the Davis Cup Final 8 in Italy.
So not everyone might want to host, right? Like, I can imagine there would be some countries that would win the Davis Cup and then they would waive their right to host because they wouldn't want to
organize something like that. As well. But I would like it as a concept, the country which win the competition gets this right. Like, if, I don't know, Eurovision Song Contest, something similar. I would like it personally, but I mean, I know that it doesn't really work like that, with all the thing how they do it right now.
The host gets a bye. I think it gets a bye to the group stages, but I don't think it gets a bye to the final 8. Spain just had to qualify like everybody else through the group stage, but the hosts, what is it, like the winner, runner up, and 2 hosts get a bye to the group stage or something like that, which will now be the former.
Yeah, it was this way. And
I don't know how it will be now, but yeah.
While right now it will be, I think, the home and away ties, 7 winners plus the host nation.
Oh, okay. So anyway, it gets a small bye. It gets a bye to the second stage, but it doesn't get a bye to the actual.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, now it will, from what you're saying, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, I think it should move at some point, definitely. Not to say that Spain hasn't been a great host for both Billie Jean King Cup and Davis Cup. I think it's been fantastic, but it should move, in my opinion, to another European country. All right, yeah. Do we have anything more to add? Usually this would be the moment where, like, for the last 5-10 minutes, we preview whatever is to come in ATP Tour Tennis next week. There's not much to talk about now. I mean, of course, there are challenges, but this isn't really about that. There are ITF Tour events as well. But yeah, I mean, the next ATP Tour event will be the Next Gen Finals. We still don't know really, like, the full lineup. but we more or less have an idea now. But of course, that's not until the 18th of December.
Yeah.
So a really long break. So I think otherwise, I mean, I've got nothing more to add.
Yeah, not really, actually. I mean, yeah, especially because, we haven't had many of these Sanfonini love. Okay. If we
Luca
want.
Nardi as well. Both pinching the top 100 finishes this year, this week.
Yeah, so yeah, let's see. I think that the next gen final will be when we'll be back, if I've understood, or maybe not. Let's see.
Sorry, no, I got lost reading Ghosty's comment, which is very fair. I think if Russia is out of it, I think the US should have had their flag removed like 20 years ago. But well, it is what it is. Anyway, yeah, that's probably gonna be it now. And thank you guys for this season as a whole, I guess, of ATP Weekly. Thank you, Mario, as usual. And
Thank you.
yeah, with a fine round today as well, talking about the Davis Cup as we watch John at the Alicante airport, where I'm going to be only on Tuesday. I'm not escaping this beautiful city until
Damien,
Tuesday morning.
I've got some tomatoes and a piece of bread. Shall I leave it somewhere for you at the airport?
Well,
I don't know if security
by
would be
Tuesday,
alerted.
I think someone will eat it already.
Well, yeah, or security might go, hang on a second, these 5 tomatoes might be, yeah.
I also if you're not gonna can you even take tomatoes onto the plane? I'm not sure. It might be too watery.
No,
Aren't they too watery?
I mean, cucumber is 98% water, right? So in
And you can
theory,
still
you
take
think
it? They're not gonna.
I think you can, yeah.
I think you can sneak it through, right? I mean, it's just not gonna pop up on the scanner. But yeah, I think there are some foods which are like very watery, and then you can't take them. Like, I don't know, like tuna in a can, for example, right?
Let us know in the comments section below, because people will be watching this retrospectively. What liquidy sort of foods can you not take? I mean, a smoothie obviously is too liquidy.
Yeah, that's not gonna work. Like
I wonder
a
where the
protein
line
shake,
is.
I don't think either.
I think cucumber might be the line. I think anything like 98% or less where the cucumber is. By the way, we're losing Mario right now. Guys, I'm going to bring this to an end now on that cucumber bombshell, and I need to take care of my language given the fact I'm at an airport, bearing in mind what I just said. And yeah, big thanks to you. I'm actually going to play us out with a Fabio Fognini interview from today.
Why do you say the G?
Huh? Oh,
Why do you say
Fognini.
the
All right.
G?
Is that why Mario went? I thought Mario was like.
No.
Oh, okay.
I didn't pay attention. I'm used to that, so it's fine.
Yeah.
I think even the people like the MC at the event said it today, and I was pretty surprised because I don't know, like it's such a famous name.
Yeah, but true. But the Spanish might well say it, and he's an MC as well, so he's probably not as au fait with tennis as others. The other thing I want to say is I've had some a little Twitter comment like, why is he saying this is me? Why is he saying gracias at the end of the interview? Well, we were talking in Spanish just before, and it just came out,
Yeah,
just came out. I know it's grazie mille or grazie in Italian, but we were in Spain, we were speaking Spanish, and
exactly. Yeah. He speaks fluent Spanish, so like why not?
As many Italians do. I mean, not as good as Mario with his sort of Argentinian twang, but
Nini speaks great Spanish also because he spends so much time in Spain. So.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so like I don't think it's a problem. Obviously, if I was doing an interview with him, I would say thank you at the end. And is that a problem? No.
Yeah, of course not.
In fact, I did say thank you, Fabio, when we were with him after that semi-win. So
when we grabbed
you said grazie mille, and I said thank you, Fabio. So
yeah. All right. Well, we're going to hear him. We might hear from Rafa as well at the end of this podcast. But yeah, big thanks to Damien and Mario for another year. I mean, it's obviously the first complete year, but it's another season at least of ATP Weekly, and got lots of things to come. I'm just going to, hopefully my audio sounds not too bad. I'm not using the microphone right now, but yeah, we've got some things still to come. People have been asking like, is Talking Tennis going to go into hibernation? Probably we reduce our content by about 50%, which means instead of an insane amount, it's just a lot. So there's still plenty. There'll probably be 1 or 2 videos every day going out. I know I'm going to be talking to Steve Flink in the next 24 hours or so, just for him to share some of his personal memories of Rafa when he's come across him over the last 20 years on tour. And we've obviously got matches of the year, which will be 10 episodes regarding the best WTA and ATP matches of the year, in our opinion. We might have to share 1 or 2 on Twitter like we did last year to see if we can get the final sort of 20 down to a final 10, so to speak. We did it for a few matches last year. We might well do the same. But yes, that's to come. And of course, next gen, and then it'll be United Cup, and then it'll be Australian Open. So yeah, tennis never stops. Thanks, Damien. Thanks, Mario. And over to you, Fabio.
Ready? Play.
Thank you, Fabio. So, Fabio, listen, you got it. You're tired, are you?
A little bit, yes.
Well, you're 37. I'm 45. Sometimes I get tired.
He's 22.
Yeah, I
So
know.
he's
Yeah.
I mean, happy day. The more important thing is, even if I was not playing, I think, well, today I won the match, so I'm happy.
Your first title of the year of any sort, right?
Yes. The first one and the last one.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. You complete the circle or whatever they say.
I mean, I know that's the sport. I mean, I'm still competing, and I mean, I'm really, well, thankful, let's say, because I have the opportunity to play with this great guy that I'm growing up really fast. They run everywhere. They play really good shots. So I'm happy about my performance. Happy, of course, about winning this tournament.
Was a bit of a key today, the end of the second set. Were you thinking, listen, I need to save some energy for the third?
See, I mean, I stopped the match on 2-1 for the physio, and after that, I mean, I lose my concentration a little bit, and I think yes, at the end of the second, I was thinking, yes, saved some energy, and I think the key was starting really well the first three games of the third one, and yes, at the end, we're happy and we have to celebrate it.
Are you ready for best of 5 now in Australia?
Well, let's enjoy, but guys, yes, see you in 2025.
Ciao, Fabio. Gracias. If you enjoyed this video,
Ready? Play.
The emotions, feeling the national anthem for the last time like a professional have been very special. And then, of course, a little bit of mixed feelings makes the things a little bit more difficult. But that's it. I mean, we went on court, we lived that moment. I tried to do my best. I tried to, at the same time, to stay as positive as possible in every single moment, to play with the right energy. Was not enough. Congrats to Botic. That's all. He was better than me. Haven't been an easy decision for the captain, but I really believe that David put on the field the player who he feels that had better chance to win. That's the truth, no? Because I give him since the beginning the input that he doesn't need to feel any pressure to put me, honestly. And I was not sure to play. That's the truth, no? So have been a lot of conversations during the week, some on and off. I was not sure because I knew that something like what happened today could happen. But even like this, I mean, after the practice of yesterday, that is true that I have been quite positive. I practiced quite well. David was confident that I was the player to play. And I mean, things can go well, can go bad. Of course, putting myself on the field, like to play the first match, was a risk, of course. But that's the work of the captain. No, at the end of the day, he has to make decisions. Watching that today, what the decision that at the end put me on the on the court like a second player didn't work. Probably the easy move and maybe the right move is to change. It just didn't work. If I would be the captain, probably I will change. I don't put myself the next day if we go through. That's my feeling, you know. But at the end, it's not my decision, and I'm sure he will make the best decision possible for the team. By the way, it's in some ways good. Maybe if that was my last match, that was my last match. If nothing happens. I lost my first match in the Davis Cup, and I lost my last one. So we close the circle.
If you enjoyed this video, make sure you hit that like button. Don't forget to subscribe and click that notification bell so you don't miss out on all things tennis.